the town where the jazz is swinging high. It's the New Orleans Outsider with Chris Goff, my oh my. We may be outsiders, but our love for New Orleans is true. So come along as I share it all with you. Sights and sounds, food and drinks. We're here to take a ride with New Orleans Outsider as our guide.
And here are your hosts, Chris Goff, Peter Newkirch, and Justin Appleberry.
I have not met my Waterloo yet at the Napoleon House, but it is one of my all-time favorite places in the greatest city in the world, New Orleans. Welcome to NOLA Outsider. I'm Chris, along with Peter and Justin. And boys, I know we all like Napoleon House. I have been going there since the very first time I was there, sadly, with my parents-in-law and sister-in-law. I had to, break my virginity to Napoleon House with them with me. But besides that, it was a great experience. And I have enjoyed it every time I've gone there. And I know that you boys also like going there. Justin, that is a go-to now, right?
First of all, love the Waterloo reference. That's a nice lead in.
Yeah.
Sets us up for the whole history of it.
Of course.
Nicely done. Yes, nicely done. Yeah, so Napoleon House, of all the places in New Orleans that I love, and there's different reasons to love a lot of different things, but to me, Napoleon House has the most interesting history, right? The whole, and we'll get into that as we go along about but the history of how, it goes back to what 1797? Yeah. And then just the whole thing and why it became its name and everything like that. It's as somebody who enjoys his history and being in there, I get off the plane. The first stop we have is Napoleon House. I'm getting my Sazerac. My wife gets her Pimm's cup, and we're off to the races from there.
Peter, I know you like going there too. I mean, it's basically a staple when we're there.
Always love it. I can always tell, if I need to find you in New Orleans, you're going to be at Fritzl's. But the second place I would find you is at Napoleon House. You have mentioned several times that Muriel's is your favorite place, but I link you to Napoleon House more than anywhere else besides Fritzl's.
You're right. No, that's fair because I think, like I said, I think it was the very first place I ever went to in the French Quarter. We drove my truck down there my very first time. It was, like I said, my parents-in-law, sister-in-law, wife, and my firstborn, and he was just a little kid then. And we drove down there, had no idea. It was really stupid to take a truck down there and park it for $50 a night or whatever it was. But I remember reading, as we all do, we like to peruse the things to do before we get to a town. So when I went to New Orleans, I read about this place called Napoleon House and the history of it, and just everything's historical in New Orleans, first off. So if you're even a higher level than that, it's pretty cool. And as Justin alluded to, this was built in 1797, and it was a former mayor of New Orleans, Mayor Girard. And he built it with the understanding that he was a huge fan of Napoleon Bonaparte. And by the way, you speak of Waterloo, Justin. I can't help but think anytime I hear Napoleon Bonaparte, I just think of Napoleon going down the water slide on Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure. It's the best. I just say that's the Napoleon that I recall.
For you kids out there, that's a good reference.
Yes.
If you watch the third Bill and Ted's movie that just came out not that long ago, horrible. You have to go back to the original. Skip Bogus Journey. Go back to Excellent Adventure. But Napoleon Bonaparte.
You got the Napoleon complex for short guys. You got the whole frame of reference out there. Yeah, absolutely. Us being big men, we don't have to worry about that. But you short guys out there, you might have some reference for that.
They're so short, I forgot about that. But yeah, that's a good point. But Nicholas Girard, who was the original owner of the building, was built in 1797, and he was a huge fan of Napoleon Bonaparte. And it's funny because you hear the rumors of like, why is this called Napoleon House? That's why you first ask, because it's just out of the blue. It's got this name, and so when you start reading about it, this former mayor was actively part of a French-led conspiracy to smuggle Napoleon out of exile in St. Helena. This is after he lost Waterloo. He was exiled, and he was just sitting there by himself, with no escape, basically. He had disease. He was doing poor in health. Ships were allegedly readied in the Gulf, and the house was being prepped for his arrival, but Napoleon died before it could happen, but the plan was deadly serious for its time. Now, that is the history of why it is called Napoleon House. Napoleon never stepped foot in there, but because of the French influence of this building and Nicholas Girard being the the level of man he was in New Orleans at the time. He wanted to make this happen. And even though it never happened, Peter, I just, and I know you too, Justin, love history, but I just think it's just a very cool story to something that could have been, you know?
Incredibly cool. To think that if he had made it to the U.S. and had been in better health on time, he would take both parts. It would have changed history radically, because they certainly would not have sold out a lot of things, and I mean the French would have hung on, and not necessarily the French in Europe. The French here would not have been so willing to go quietly.
Yeah, no, it was Justin. I know you've read up on this as well. I mean, it's when you walk into the place. I mean, what obviously feeds into the history and just the lure of hearing about this Napoleon story is the fact you walk into the place, and just as soon as you walk in and you have the awesome right at the. I always take a picture of the awesome mosaic like tile work on the front where it says, you know, Napoleon House on the floor there, right in the corner, right when you're walking in the room. And when you go in, you have this huge bar to your left, and it looks like it's been there since the, you know, like the Wyatt Earp days of America. Mm-hmm. And the walls are just, they look like they have not been touched, cleaned. They have, you know, handwriting all over them where people have like written their names on the wall. And the place looks like it hasn't been cleaned or touched in 300 years. And I mean that in a good way.
Yeah. So I think in a city full of history, I think the Napoleon House is uniquely defined for like its really, really deep history, not, you know, just in politics and culture, in the whole movement and everything like that. Like Peter said, what if Napoleon had come to the United States? You know, what would that look like and stuff? And not only that, it's just a great place to have a drink.
It is. I mean, and we'll get to some of the movies and stuff that they've shot there, because when I took my kids here this last time, they instantly recognized it being from the latest version of Haunted Mansion. They shot that right at the bar. But yeah, Peter, when you go to, like, do you remember the first time you ever went there, Peter? And what were your thoughts walking into the place?
Oh yeah, I mean, there's a reason why all those movies want to shoot there, because they don't have to do anything. They just show up, and it's a time capsule of what it looked like then. And they haven't changed it, but in a good way. And there's just no reason to change it. I know it's a historically protected building, but it is gorgeous inside in a very simple way. And lunch, I don't think I've been closer for, like, not full blown dinner, but I've had dinner there. But I almost always go for lunch. Mm-hmm. And it's not a huge menu, but it's always great.
Yeah. I've never been there for dinner either. Always lunch and drinks.
Yeah, it's always like Justin said, it is my wife and I's. It is our place. If I had to say what our place is outside of Fritzl's, it would be Napoleon House. It's just where we always have gone since day one, and it is like more of a, as my parents would call it, linner, like a lunch dinner play, like somewhere in between lunch dinner, afternoon thing. Like it's not. It's sort of like I love going there. It's the kind of place I like going and being like, hey, I've had lunch, and I'm going to have dinner in like 3 hours, but let's go there for a snack, because I want to say I went to Napoleon House again this time, because I always want to go there. And because of that, Peter, like you say, it doesn't have like an extensive necessarily like a dinner menu. You know, it doesn't. It's not. And we'll talk about the history of the ownership.
It has one menu.
It does. It doesn't have different menus, and it's owned by the Brennans now, which of course the Brennans are known for their elaborate menus and all their other restaurants, but they've just acquired it in the last decade or so. But they have kept true to form of what that place has been for many years. And my go-to thing there is always the boudin. I mean, it is always the thing I want there. It's always great. They serve it with like an awesome mustard and bread, and that along with, I don't know, just pick something else to go with it. Usually we get like a quarter or a half muffaletta there, and I want to hear what you guys get, but I do want to get into the debate of the greatest muffaletta of all time. This is something that happens daily on Facebook and groups about New Orleans. Where's the best muffaletta? You know, it's like, I love
constant debate.
I love the Facebook groups. Like every day someone walks in and types, where's the best muffaletta in New Orleans? And I know it's some nice person that's never been there before, but I'm like, dude, do a quick search. The last 12 hours, there's been like 3 discussions on this. Okay. But I do want to talk about how Napoleon versus others. But that is my go-to when I get there. What do you get, Peter?
Boudin again, and it's I'm a huge fan of Boudin, and unless I'm going over to Lafayette or Baton Rouge, that area, especially Lafayette, it's the one place you can always go. They always have it on the menu, and it's a good boudin also.
It is.
And you're right. It's not a complicated presentation, but it's a nice piece of boudin and just some simple accompaniments to it, and always delicious.
What about you, Justin?
Same. I get the boudin, but I also get the gumbo because I gotta have
Gumbo's
a bowl
good
of
there.
gumbo within like 3 hours of getting to New Orleans.
They do have a good gumbo. It's one of the
Yep.
few places I get gumbo down there.
Yeah,
It is.
Yeah.
It is a good gumbo. I mean, I think I if you go up and down the menu, and it's available at Napoleon House online if you go to their website. But I mean, up and down their menu, I think I've gotten it something every time. I think I've gotten everything at this point. I've had.
Well, you know what I like about it, Chris, too, is it's a simplified menu. You know, I
It is.
don't want to go to Cheesecake Factory where you get like 15 pages of things to choose from. Right? I enjoy having like, you know, because to me, a restaurant, if you have like 5, 6 options like that speaks to they know how to cook it, they know how to prepare it. It's going to be great no matter what you choose.
Yeah, Peter, you can speak to that. That some restaurants are jack of all trades, master of none, right?
Right. And their red beans and rice is always stand out. They've obviously been cooking the same recipe for decades or more than decades. Their potato salad, it's not something everybody gets. It's a great potato salad.
That.
And of course, you can never beat any place that sells Zaps. Gets extra points in my book.
Yeah, if you have not had Zaps, I mean, I try to. In Kansas City here, I tried several times at my place of business to bring Zaps, and I brought them again. I brought them for the crawfish boil. I got 4 boxes of them, but and I've had more and more people ask about Zaps. I think it's starting to infiltrate more and more the Midwest. But yes, Zaps are the best potato chip available in a small bag. They are.
We keep working. Zap's going to have to pay us some royalties for the KC market, boys.
That's fine.
Yep.
They could be a sponsor one day.
Yeah, there you go. Come on, Zaps.
You know, something that your wife got once, Justin, that my wife got right after on our next trip was that shrimp remoulade stuffed avocado, which it's an avocado salad, basically. Red onion, lemon. I mean, it was really good. My wife was super jealous of that, and so she got that. I think that was maybe the last thing I hadn't had on that menu before. But you know, there's like you said, there's not a ton of options, but it's got all the staples of New Orleans. What you want, if for someone coming from Kansas City or anywhere else, and is like, I want traditional, New Orleans-y Cajun food, Creole food, whatever, this is what you're getting. You're getting, your jambalayas there, your red beans and rice. Boudin is not, my dad loves sausage, hates boudin. I think it's because he thinks he's afraid. He's afraid boudin has, parts of a pig that he doesn't want to eat. Right. But I'm like, well, what do you think this other bratwurst?
Well, what's a hot dog? Yeah.
Some things, sometimes you just can't get past that original thought.
He wanted nothing to do with that black boudin you got us.
No,
that was. I still got some in the freezer I need to eat.
The blood boudin that's a different level, Peter. I do want to be fair. The blood boudin, which, that's a side note. We've gotten blood boudin flown in from New Orleans before. I think, Peter, if I'm not wrong, I think it's the last manufacturer. They were grandfathered in as a family that have been making this for generations. That they make this blood sausage, this blood boudin, and it cooks and comes in totally black. I fed it to I gave some to Peter and a couple of my other friends. I was going to give a couple pounds to Garrett, and Garrett had a half a link with me when I made it at our and he took I think he finished it, Peter, but he said it tasted chalky and he did not want any more. So I gave the others.
Well, how'd you prep it? You just grill it?
Yeah. You can grill or roast it. No, Garrett doesn't like anything with liver or any organ meats in it, so he passed after that.
Yeah, that was weak, but it was boudin is great, and this is a nice entry level place to be able to get boudin if you like sausage. It's got rice in it. It's not something that you can sort of cut up, and you have to eat it in a link. You can't. It's not like something you can make in little quarter shape size stuff. But
you dive right in, make the commitment, go for it.
I know everybody links gumbo to true Cajun cooking, and I'm not gonna. That's another. It's kind of like every half hour someone's arguing some point about Cajun cooking, but I would say boudin is the most iconic Cajun food, if you're like, I'm going to try one thing, I want to understand what Cajun is in one thing, I would say it's boudin.
Yeah,
I think you're right. I mean, like, I that is something uniquely to that region that if made correctly and properly the way they made it for generations, they can still do it down there. I mean, of course, I have a friend up here that has a meat company, a meat manufacturing company, and he makes boudin, but he cannot make it the same way that they make it in Creole country because the USDA will not allow him to do that up here. But the way they still do it down there is traditional, and it's just better. It's like I think the USDA up here requires you to cook everything thoroughly before you make the sausage with put it all together. I think that's how it is. But I haven't done it personally yet, but I think you're right, Peter. I mean, I don't think I know plenty of people eat red beans and rice and jambalaya and gumbo and all that stuff up here, but most people, I don't think the very first time I asked them if they've had boudin, they have not had it up here.
And for everybody who has no idea what we're talking about, boudin is spelled Boudin. It is a sausage that is stuffed always with rice, generally with pork. Can be various parts of pork. It is kind of like the northeast scrapple. It's can be leftover parts from when they're slaughtering hogs. But
yummy.
We've also seen it is not uncommon to see it made with other things, including shrimp, alligator. You don't really see beef. I think it dries out too much. Yeah, not heavily spiced. Always well seasoned, but it's not spicy. I've never had one that's spicy.
No. And if you go to any place that you want to like fly in food, from all these places I always look up stuff to like buy my friends for Christmas or whatever. It's always, they all have, like you said, varying types of boudin, and that is a staple down there. And I think you're absolutely right. That is but back to it. It is on the menu.
Goff. I guess my Christmas present was lost in the mail.
You didn't get that blood boudin?
No, I missed it. Peter, did you get yours? I missed mine.
I did. Well, yours is probably in my freezer.
Okay. All right. I'll come over. We'll have that then.
I do want to see if you'd like that because it's different than regular boudin. But back to the history of the building, though, I found this interesting. One thing that is when you walk into Napoleon House, they're always playing like opera or classical type music, and it is a staple, and it has been that way for decades and decades and decades. So the Impastato family. They bought this in 1914. They bought it from, I don't know if it was from the Girard family or not, but under Joseph Impastato, it became a hub for artists, musicians, and writers. And it really had a reputation as a gathering place for intellectuals, really. I mean, what was interesting is if you see some of the people, if you look up, like, who are some famous people that love Napoleon House, Tennessee Williams. It was like he has his own seat. Did you know that? Did you know that if you walk into the main area there by the bar, and there's that sort of curved, the dog's getting into it. You heard the boudin talk.
Dog's excited over here. Sorry.
If you heard the arch that you can sit under in that far back wall by the bar, I don't know if you know what I'm talking about, but that was Tennessee. That's the Tennessee Williams corner. That is where he sat and did a lot of business.
I had no idea.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you know that, Peter?
I did not. My favorite thing about Tennessee Williams is that he had a cat named Gentleman Caller.
Well, that's a great thing. Well, it was just they call it Tennessee Williams Corner, and I didn't know that until the last couple of times I went there, and I guess he liked to sit there and write. And other people that Truman Capote,
it's a great place.
Truman Capote was another guy that spent time there. It is a cool atmosphere. If you walk in, especially at night, and even during the day, if it is cloudy out and you go in, it's like candlelit, and it's very hard to see inside. Most of the time, my wife wants to sit in their courtyard. Their courtyard is probably, 20 by 20? Not very big. It's sort of the like mini courtyards in New Orleans. Like, it's funny, when I had some friends just come back like a week or two ago, first time ever going down there, and they really loved it. As I've told you before, when I send people down there, it's sort of hard to like get pumped up because I've met too many people that don't like it now. So I'm like, I go in with low expectations and tell them like, okay, it might do this or that. So they loved it, and they were shocked at how every place has a courtyard. They're like, I would love to see a drone shot going over, all these roads in the French Quarter to see all these different courtyards because they all have them. And Napoleon House is one of those. I mean, you would not think it has what it has, but it is a quaint little place. And every time I go back in that courtyard, I look upstairs. You see the second floor up there, and I'm like, was that going to be Napoleon Bonaparte's? Was that going to be his room? Like I don't know. It's cool, but I like the layout. I do.
Yeah,
that courtyard is. You're right. I mean, you can go to every building down there, not just in the quarter. You can get outside of it, and everyone's got a courtyard. Some are gorgeous, some are huge. There's something incredibly comfortable about that courtyard. I'm not a big one to want to sit outside and eat, but if I can get a table out there, I definitely always would like to eat in the courtyard. On the perfect day weather, it's not going to be you're not going to get a better experience.
What's funny about that building in particular is when you walk out to the courtyard, and they take pride, as you mentioned, Peter. They take pride, and they have not changed anything. They want to keep the look. They want to keep the. I mean, that's what I love about it. It's not a dive bar, but it's got the look of a dive bar because the walls have handwritten things from if you look at the history on those walls, they will tell you that a lot of artists, musicians, they have written, either signed their name or did it anonymously. And there is stuff all over the walls, in the bathroom, in the main area. And you wouldn't notice it unless you walk up to the wall because it looks just sort of like, I don't know, just sort of weathered walls. But when you go up, it's like just filled with graffiti. And they have not changed anything. But when a couple years ago we went to the back, and part of the wall, because I think I was reading about it, even through Katrina and all these other storms, it's got such thick walls. It's really hasn't had a lot of damage to it through the generations here. But some I don't know, plaster, cement, I don't know what it was exactly, was falling from the side of the wall in the courtyard. And probably so the next time I went there, there's this fencing up, and they have it blocked off. And this is several years ago. It's safe to go, but it was it's man, how hard is it to keep the awesome vintage look and feel of it, but also how long is that going to last? I don't know how often you're going to have to fix this structurally.
Right. So I think that's one of the key points when you visit Napoleon House. Take your time. Tour around, look at all the walls, look at the artwork, kind of just drink it all in, right? Just don't sit at the bar at the table and have a drink and a little meal, but just explore, because it is a really cool, unique atmosphere in Americana history. It's unique in itself of that. Just it's almost like a living, breathing, boozy museum.
Yeah, Peter, I want to get your take. There's basically 4 parts of this building. When you walk in, you have the bar area. They seat you. You have a host, hostess, whatever. They seat you where you want. But that is the bar area. That's a little louder. That's where the traffic in and out is. Then you go one room to the left through the doorway, and that is sort of like a dining area, more, a little bit more secluded, a little, darker with the candle lit, and it's just harder to see in there. I think the first time you went, Justin, that you were in that room with us in a big table. Yeah. And then you have the courtyard area, which is obviously bright and, little nice outside. And then you have the upstairs, which they rent out for private events, and they have other things going on there, which, by the way, I hate it when last few times we've gone, that thing has been rented out. The whole thing has been rented out for private events, and we can't go.
It pissed me off, man.
It does. It does suck. But Peter, I think there's 4 parts to this place.
Yeah. I feel like, the bar, you just walk in there, and it's not a big bar. You can sit at that bar, but it's so busy. They're just producing so many drinks, because there's also all the carry, because that Pim's Cup, I know we're going to get into it. They just don't stop making that drink. There's someone making that and then making everything else on top of it. You can go in that bar and see just Pim Cups lined up down the bar, and they're just making, I don't know, 20 at a time.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And those aren't craft. Those aren't just paint by number. Those are craft cocktails they're making there too. There's time that it takes to make those.
Yeah. Like I said about the courtyard, it's, just everything I just said about, I feel like that dining room, I like sitting in there, but I feel like, talking about Napoleon, if he had come to that's where conspiracies or revolutions are playing in that room. Like there's a table, you just sit there and there's a group of people sitting there. They're having a nice meal. They're enjoying it, and they are planning something very serious that's going to happen in the future.
Well put.
It is. I mean, and it's cool. It's cool decor. Cool. There's I don't want to forget to mention. There's like when you walk into the first room, the bar area. There is a picture of Napoleon on the wall that has been there ever since I've seen it, and it is just a staple of having. I don't know. It's just the one piece of artwork there that represents what could have been. So the Impastato family, I do want to mention with them, they were big on, he loved the opera music and the classical music. That is why they continue that tradition through today. The Impastato family sold the business that they had run for, so many years in 2015 to the Brennan family restaurants. They have so many there. We've talked about, obviously, Commander's Palace and Brennan's and Dickie Brennan's and Redfish Grill and so many, Ralph's on the Park, all these places. But and when they bought it, and we were obviously going to New Orleans in 2015 at that point, we had loved this place. So when they bought it, I was like, man, I hope they don't, gut it and like try to fancy it up, shine it up. And to their credit, they have kept it. You would not know that to a person walking in, I don't think if you had gone there 2 years before and now, you would not know that they have done anything different. I think it stayed. They've really kept the culture, the look, everything the same, including the staff. If you go in there, there's waiters, much like a lot of places in New Orleans. There are guys there that I've seen for 15 years.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I mean, the Brennans do a good job of that. They make sure they hold the integrity of the businesses that they purchase, and that's a tip of the cap to them to doing that.
Yeah,
it is a corner bar, and it has that feel to it, but it also has 200 plus years of history behind it.
Yeah, I mean, to have there is a Girard, there's a road named after Girard, to know he was he had to have been a multi-millionaire, or the equivalent of a multi-millionaire to own that building, to want to be involved in, political, prisoners and bringing them over here and stuff. I mean, obviously he was well-to-do, and the building is a really cool building. It just is. It's just got so much character when you walk in there. I do want to talk about let's talk about the bar first before we get to the muffaletta stuff. But I think if the two drinks that I know that they make there, that I think that was the very first place I ever had a Sazerac, which I had no idea what a Sazerac was until I went to Napoleon House. Had no idea that was the drink of New Orleans, the official cocktail of New Orleans. And obviously, Peter, for years, we made those at my house and around, and we enjoyed getting a bottle of absinthe now that it's legal and all this stuff. And then also the Pim's Cup. And the Pim's Cup is not nearly as obviously as strong as a Sazerac, but it's got that coolness, the refreshing taste, the cucumber, the summer. So many people love the Pim's Cup there. Is that what you guys always get?
I've had both, and I feel like that's where we had the whole conversation about using the right bitters. That you have to use the Pachutes, because we kept having that conversation. They just never tasted quite right, not New Orleans, and that's. I feel like the bartender there is the one who told us that. I'm not.
Yeah, I call it Peychaud's. I don't know how to say it. I always call it Peychaud's. Peychaud's bitters have like a very distinct. They almost look like grenadine to me when you put it in the drink. It gives it a reddish hue. And I guess I base most of my Sazeracs on Napoleon House's Sazerac. I mean, I've gone to the Roosevelt. I've had it. We've all had it at the Sazerac bar. We've had them there before. I mean, you can get them anywhere in New Orleans, obviously. But I base the way I look at it on the one that I got there, and it was heavy on the Peychaud's. It was.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. And then as far as the Pim's Cup go, you can't get a more refreshing drink. And it's not a heavy alcohol content drink. It's just, and there's this, everyone, they don't claim to have the original because it's not, but they have a most classic one. And that's the one everyone's, and if you're down there and it's warm at all, you can't get a more refreshing drink than their Pim's Cup.
I mean, that is your wife's favorite, isn't it, Justin?
Oh, she loves them. Yeah,
same
that's
for mine.
like
she loves those.
Like I said, for our first, we get off the plane, we're at Napoleon's. I'm getting my Sazerac, and she's getting her Pim's Cup. That's her favorite.
So their drink, their mix is Pim's number one, which is the liquor, lemonade, and a splash of 7-Up garnished with a cucumber. So yeah, and they have in the summer. I've gone there and they have different versions. They'll have like a strawberry version and I think a watermelon version. They have different versions of Pim's cups, which is always great. But I've never had a bad drink there. I always think their food and their drink is so good for a place that we've talked about places that you will spend a lot of money at, where it's Commanders or Muriel's. These places are like you're talking 100+ a head. But when you go to Napoleon House, that's not it at all. I mean, you still have like a really good meal and a really good couple drinks, and you're not it's half the price of these other places we've talked about.
Right. Now, do you fellas usually sit at the bar? Or do you guys get a table or just mix and match? Because we've mixed and matched.
We mix and match. I've been in all the areas, but my wife she wants vitamin D, man. We have to sit outside, which isn't always my favorite thing when it's 100 degrees out, and no breeze. But she wants that sun, man. So we're sitting in that courtyard.
Nothing wrong with that.
I like that dining room. My wife, I think she couldn't be happier down there than having their red beans and rice in one of their Pim's cups. That's probably about most classic meal for her.
So let's talk about the debate, okay? The debate of the best muffaletta in New Orleans. The very first muffaletta I ever had was at Napoleon House, and it was, your traditional muffaletta, which, Peter, why don't you tell me what how to construct a muffaletta?
Well, it's got to be that iconic round sesame bread. I can't say for 100% if it's a different mix than the po' boy bread that everybody uses, but
it seems to be slightly.
Yeah, but it has to be that round. It's a light bread.
It's like 10 inches across, maybe. I don't know, 10, like 8 to 12.
Yeah, if you get a full. I mean, I think what are they trying to look to see what they're trying. I think they 16 for a whole sandwich.
Yeah, they do so there you do a quarter, half, or a full. And that is pretty typical in the places you get a muffaletta in New Orleans to have those three options. I mean, half the time my wife's like, want to split a quarter, or whatever.
Right, yeah. Half's a lot. Half is a lot.
It is.
No, 26 for a whole. So I shorted them $10.
Yeah.
Then so you got to start with that bread. It's got to have the sesame seeds on it. That's a must part of it. Pretty much everyone they add pastrami. You don't see pastrami on everybody's, and they use Swiss and provolone. A lot of places just use provolone, but it's got to have the ham, the Genoa salami. Most places you'll see will do the mortadella instead of the pastrami, but I like theirs. And then of course the olive mix. That's what makes the whole salad what it is.
Right.
And I'm with you, Chris. Why would you not want it warm? It's just better warm.
So the debate, if you've never had a muffaletta and if you want a hot or cold muff, here's where you go. You go to New Orleans, okay?
Easy there. Muffaletta.
But I'm just shortening abbreviation. But the hot muffaletta is what you get at Napoleon House, which is what I thought, like, this is great. I mean, the cheese is melted on the meat, is like, and the Sicilian loaf or whatever is a little crust, a little crunchy on the outside, soft on the inside. And then Central Grocery, though, is the place that gets the credit for being the first place to ever serve the muffaletta. And so after, and it was open for many years, and then it closed after some damage to the building, and it reopened just this past year. And so they serve it cold. So I guess the debate is, when everyone asks, it always comes down to pretty much Napoleon House versus Central Grocery. And really it comes down to, do you want it hot or cold? And Peter, like, I'm with you. Like, if there's a shot of me, I can't really tell you a sandwich that if given the option, I want it either hot or cold, unless I'm like sitting in 100 degrees, 100% humidity in the middle of on the sun. I think I'd want my sandwich always hot.
Yeah. No. I don't know. I did the first muffalettas I had were not in New Orleans, that they were real ones. They were from people in New Orleans. They were Italians from New Orleans and Chicago. It was a place I would go all the time if I had to go, not quite downtown, but downtown area. If I had to go down to that area to work or something, I would always make a point to stop by there if it was during the daytime and get a half a muffaletta, and it was just always delicious. And they didn't even offer them cold, as far as I remember. They only offered them hot. So I just fell in love with them that way. And so yeah, I don't see the point of getting a cold one.
Same.
What about you, Justin? Have you had it anywhere else? Have you had a cold one somewhere?
I've never had a cold one. Yeah, I didn't know that was an option. Yeah, I mean, I always take a hot sandwich over a cold sandwich. A hot meal over a cold meal any day. Let you have like a nice salad on an August afternoon. Yeah.
Yeah, no.
Really, everybody can stop arguing it on the internet now. We've answered the question.
Obviously, it's
All
3-0.
We solved the internet's problems tonight, boys. There we go.
We would,
yeah.
And I'm waiting for tomorrow's post. So we'll talk about that then. But yeah, so like I said, it's been owned by several families. Now the Brennans have it, and I am happy that they have it now, really, because they haven't changed it, and they're going to keep it the same. They recently bought Pascal Manali's too over in the Garden District, and this is another iconic barbecue shrimp place. So I don't know how the people of New Orleans feel about the Brennan family. Maybe they have hot and cold thoughts on them. I don't know, but every time I will always. Maybe everyone does in their town for whatever reason. So whatever, I don't care. But for an outsider, it's great because I think I always love. Although Redfish Grill got another negative review the other day, Peter. I don't mean to just take a dump on Redfish Grill, but I will say, Peter, I've gotten yelled at twice now for Redfish Grill, and I did not even tell the second people to go there. But our friend Garrett went there, and he said after that meal. He told me that he hated me forever because I ruined one of his meals that he was going to have in New Orleans by taking him to Redfish Grill. So, yeah, it was. It wasn't very nice. But anyway, so some of the things that if you walk in there, like I said, the charm of the building is so cool, as we discussed. I mean, just the look, the feel, the vibe. It's such a cool place. And like Peter said, you don't even have to change it up to have some kind of it looks like a Hollywood set already. So I found it interesting to look at some of the movies that were filmed there because, as I mentioned, the 2003 version of Haunted Mansion put out by Disney. It's got Rosario Dawson in it, Owen Wilson. Several scenes were taped at the bar at Napoleon House. And it's if you watch that movie with your kids or whatever, you will see it automatically. You'll see the back of the bar, the opening room there. It's pretty cool to see it if you like the place. Other movies that it's been a part of. It was taped. It was part of The Curious Case of Benjamin Button, which I watched that back in the day with Brad Pitt. JFK,
Missouri boy.
Good Springfield, Missouri boy. JFK had some scenes filmed at Napoleon House. The Oliver Stone flick from 1991. Runaway Jury, starring John Cusack and Gene Hackman. They use it as part of their New Orleans backdrop. 1993's The Pelican Brief, another movie with Denzel Washington and Julia Roberts. And Denzel Washington, also Deja Vu, 2006. So
Denzel loves his New Orleans.
He does. I mean, he likes using it, but it is made for Hollywood to come in and shoot if you need some kind of eclectic looking. But I mean, there's Lafitte's blacksmith shop. I mean, there's plenty of like iconic places that you can shoot around New Orleans, but Napoleon House is high on that list.
And you can see why they shoot those because the courthouse is catty corner from it.
That's true.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
You do have the Court of Appeals and Supreme Court. It's the Court of Appeals at the very least is there. So I always tease my wife. I'm like, you could come down here and pass the bar and be here, because although I don't know if I'd want to, again, the debate of living there or not is always one.
Yeah, you're going to live there sooner or later, Goff.
Maybe. If I hit the lottery, I would definitely have an apartment there. But, yeah.
So the great thing about Napoleon House, it's a place when you get to New Orleans, you walk in there, you just breathe it in. It's like a nice opening segment to your experience of New Orleans. It's just a nice introduction. It's just a nice way to start your week or your weekend or whatever you're going to do. It's culture, it's food, it's history. It's almost like the perfect recipe for whatever you want to get out of New Orleans. That's probably a good, nice place to start, in my opinion.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. What about you, Peter?
I know it's not probably we know it's not one of the oldest buildings down there in the quarter, but there's something about that area right there that feels the most untouched the most buildings that are just original to that area. It has a little bit of a neighborhood quietness to it that I always like going over there. Mm-hmm. It's half a block away is the New Orleans School of Cooking, which is one of our favorite places to go.
Definitely.
Yeah, it's just it's a great place. And I think Justin hit it right. It's a great place to start your trip there. Always, it's you can head there. You can tell everybody to meet there. It's an easy to find for everybody, and you can go. You're always going to get a delicious meal and a great cocktail at a great price in a beautiful, simple but beautiful building.
Yeah,
That's absolutely right. Yes, and as I get further along and I have more friends going down there, and they want like a place that doesn't going to cost them like $200 to go eat, and they also do not need reservations. Now you could have to stand in line outside a little bit if it's packed on a busy time, but they do not even take reservations, so you can walk in there, which is harder and harder to do in America, to go walk in at a restaurant on a Friday or Saturday at some point, because it seems like everything requires reservations now. But it is a great place. It has great food, great drinks, great atmosphere. You can go any time of the day, and it's very inviting. And yeah, it's just one of my all-time favorite places, and I know you guys agree with that as well. It is a go-to place on any time between lunch and dinner, or either of those as well, to have a great meal and a great time in New Orleans. Well, thanks, guys. This is one of my favorite places, Napoleon House, where I keep saying that. And one of these times we're going to run out of these places that are going to be on my list of my favorite places.
One of these days we're going to do a podcast of shit we hate New Orleans.
Well, that's not going to be very long.
No,
but
it's going to be a 10-minute episode, folks, and we'll monologue through most of it.
Well, I appreciate everyone listening to NOLA Outsider. And again, check us out at NOLAoutsider.com. If you do like the show, and we have finally got ratings now. So we have enough ratings, or we're still at 5.0 star because,
Thanks, Mom.
Mom and my sisters and brothers have all done that. But if you feel the need, please go in, subscribe, and give us a good review if you'd like, because we enjoy doing this, and that's all we're really doing it for. Just three guys like talking about New Orleans and enjoy our time there and look forward for our next trip. But anyway, guys, thanks for joining us. We will see you next week here on NOLA Outsider.
See you, everyone.
See ya.
Thanks for listening to the NOLA Outsider podcast. We'd love to hear about your experiences in the greatest city in the world. Email us at outsidernola@gmail.com. Also, check us out on Facebook at facebook.com/NOLA Outsider or visit NOLAoutsider.com. See you next time on NOLA Outsider.